Yeah, thank you, Julia, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to the audience. As some of you may know and have already been participating, and maybe some of you are new, therefore, shortly explaining, of course, what is dynaCERT doing, and maybe the more interesting, what's going up, what's the development. Therefore, what is dynaCERT? dynaCERT is a company which is in the carbon emission reduction technology. That's the CERT, and of course, dynamically means we are more than 20 years on the market. We have developed an alkaline electrolysis solution which separates hydrogen or which produces out of distilled water hydrogen and oxygen on demand. What means on demand? On demand means principally it's combined to a combustion engine. Therefore, what do we want to do with it? Of course, we want to reduce emissions and saving fuels. And by that, of course, we have less TCOs as a total cost of ownership for the operators, for the customers, and reduced life cycle costs. And soon, and this we discussed also in the past, we are generally Vera certified, which is Vera is an organization based in Washington, D.C., which is one of the most reputed organizations worldwide to be able to generate carbon credits. With them, we have the general approval, means our technology with the hardware and the software is certified by them, and we are in the process of finalizing the individual project to create individual carbon credits for the individual usage that the operator who uses our electrolyzing box can generate, or we for them can generate carbon credits, and sharing the benefits coming out of that. Expected third quarter fall this year to be finalized, which then would be, of course, also be an important step or an important next step for the company. Maybe that's as an introduction. You see there on the picture one of our boxes, majorly for Class A trucks. As said, principally it's a box with an electrolyzing unit in it, and of course some devices and pipes and distilled water tanks, and with a specific KOH chemical inside, which makes the separation happening within the electrolyzing unit. We save fuel depending which application, which power curve. We are reducing fuel by 5% and more. We have cases where we have much more. I come to one of these cases in a minute. We reduce emissions, also more detailed in a minute. And of course, as said, reducing the operation costs by that. That's the hardware. We have, besides the hardware, also some software, which is called Hydralytica. The product itself, the hardware, is called Hydrogen, of course, corresponding to hydrogen, which can't be protected. Therefore, our hardware is called Hydrogen, and the software Hydralytica, of course, relating to hydrogen and analytics. With this is a telematics unit. We have on our boxes an own ECU. It's an autonomous system. We measure with the telematics the most important data like fuel consumption, like emission reduction or emission pollution values. And with the Hydralytica and our own ECU and our own software, our own telematics, we can measure the fuel saving compared to using our box versus non-using it. And secondly, by that, it's of course an important base for the carbon credit generation, as we will generate so-called premium carbon credits. Premium means it's data driven. It's not per se or generally. It's really on the individual box, on the individual fuel saving. Therefore, it will be premium carbon credits. Having said that, maybe coming a little bit back to the combustion solutions or the impact on the combustion. As said, it's majorly a retrofitting solution. Means we have the box with where you fill in for roughly in a Class A truck, for example, roughly for 80 hours of operation, means more or less a week, depending on the working hours, a week or 5 days trucking. You fill in 2 liters, or the driver fills in 2 liters of distilled water, which isn't too much. With this small amount of water, you can run the electrolyzing unit, and by that, the creation of the hydrogen and the oxygen for 80 hours. This will be sucked in. It's not injected. It's sucked in with under pressure into the in front of the turbocharger, and in the turbocharger, of course, being condensed, then being brought into the combustion room, and by that, with a hotter, earlier stroke and hotter combustion, you reduce significantly the emissions and the fuel. And by that, you have, with less particulate matters and less pollution, you have also a better situation in the combustion room as well as in the after treatment. That means you have also less regeneration of the DPF, or the diesel particle filter. It's better for the catalyst, and therefore, of course, with a cleaner burn, also a cleaner situation in the combustion room and the after treatment, which is also commercially, besides the fuel savings and the emission reduction, of course, very valuable. Having said that, coming back to the box, what's the IP? The IP is, of course, on the electrolyzing. There's various patents, in total 18, and more to come on the electrolyzing itself. Secondly, on the installation. Thirdly, on the ECU, where we have an own ECU asset, completely autonomous system, independent from the vehicle, of course, connected to the vehicle, but system itself independent. And we have a very low energy electrolyzing system. That means we need the impulse from the battery to start the on-demand production of the hydrogen and oxygen, but it's not powering the equipment itself. This is a set with some chemicals and kind of perpetual mobile, therefore very low energy system, different also maybe to some competing solutions. This is from the IP side. Here we have the results of a test, which was done same as truck applications. Maybe some guys of you know it from Europe and elsewhere, running with an MAN truck, in this case in Europe, in Germany, in the Black Forest. There we have roughly 10% CO2 reduction, 55% particulate matters reduced. We have significant 57% hydrocarbon reductions, and we have roughly 7, 6, 8% reduction in fuel, which of course is also a huge impact, and by that really significant reductions. And as said, besides the test runs, which we have, of course, also this real life, real test results. This is one of the examples. Of course, we have various installations in the world, various testings, and you know how this in the industry in retrofitting as well as in new equipment works. Means we have test bed results, we have test runs with specific customers and the specific application. And with positive tests, you get then into fleets and into bigger serious volumes, which we, of course, have the first ones being executed. And therefore, yeah, very interesting. A lot of examples and field test and test installations or pilot installations. The tests, of course, are done. Therefore, more and more pilots in the market and also first series orders received. Having said that, maybe a few pictures on the product and on the applications. Means this is so-called HG1 series. It's majorly for 10 to 15 liters, majorly class 8 trucks, but you see there with the pictograms, of course, also for some construction equipment, some agricultural equipment, also for generators, more and more to come in different sizes, same alkaline electrolyzing, and by that reactor technology. We have a smaller one, principally for smaller engines, 1 to 8 liters, which would be the size of, for instance, buses or cooling refrigeration trailers or of vans. And in the other dimension for bigger units, we have also the so-called 4C, HG 4C, and 6C. 4 and 6C means the number of scaled up membranes within the electrolyzing unit. That means same technology, but in different scaling, different number of reactors for bigger mining truck engines, shovels, and of course bigger gensets where we are added or combined already with the first MTUs and Caterpillars and other bigger diesel engines, well known, well reputed. But as said, autonomous system. Customers are usually not the engine manufacturers, it's usually the operators, where we do this solution as a retrofit solution, as mentioned before, reducing fuel, reducing emissions, and this is the product. Means principally 4 major product groups, which is reducing complexity, same technology, different scaling, different power ranges of the engines. But therefore, Toronto company being assembled and manufactured in Toronto, but of course, depending on the business and where it will be most of the business in the future, of course, easily to be to be localized in the various geographies where we are working on, depending where we need which amount of units in the future. Having said that, maybe coming back a little bit to the applications, there you see a broad number of applications and products. It means principally our device would work with every combustion engine. Up to now, we are majorly in diesel. Why majorly in diesel? It's the biggest population, as you know, of diesel engines worldwide. Secondly, majorly in the North American markets, a set Canadian-based company, of course, also having business in Europe and the Middle East and globally, but coming from North America, there the gas price, the natural gas price, as you know, is cheaper. Therefore, we have also, of course, impacts or positive results with gas engines. But as gas is cheaper than relatively in that geography than diesel, we are majorly on diesel trucks. More and more are also to come and getting into first pilot installations also on HVO, on hydrated vegetable oil, which of course in the Class 8 truck majorly also here in Europe is getting more and more important. Therefore, also having soon there are tests in the first pilot installations. But coming back to where do we play majorly up to now? Majorly it's mining and oil and gas on drills and gas compression, on the well servicing, on the generator side in oil and gas and in mining, and of course in general on power generation, as well as in Class 8 trucks. Besides that, you see there various other applications. We have first installations also in construction, which of course, depending on the vehicle size, is not that much different than mining. We are also in agriculture and farming, as said, in cooling refrigeration units or cooling trucks, and also small trucks. I show it in a minute in a picture. We have first installations also on locomotives, means in the rail application, which of course for the company is also more and more important. You know, long distance rail is also a permanent continuous application and usage, which principally has the highest efficiency ratios for our product. We have also first installations or first pilot installations on inland waterways, on dredges and other equipment, and are approached, which is not having the proper product up to now, because there you can imagine it's bigger power ranges necessary, which from our development side is of course possible. But up to now, that's why we wrote future is also bigger vessels ocean going, which talking on fuel consumption and the more on emission and pollution, you know that the big cruisers, the big cargo vessels are driving more or less, some of them, or the older ones, heavy oil and some dual fuel. Therefore, also, important to reduce their emissions, and also our technology with today's alkaline electrolyzer, and maybe also with our spin-off and partner company, Seit, also on the AEM technology. Some ideas already in discussion, but as said, up to now, no product, but it's definitely also in investigation. And that's why we wrote future. Maybe we will come also ourselves or with partner to that applications as well. Means generally said, working on every application where combustion engines with fossil fuel are involved. As said, up to now, majorly mining, oil and gas, and Class 8 trucks, where we are in and where we have most of the volume up to now in these applications, more to come. Having said that, maybe a few pictures only or slides to swipe through. Means this is principally the box being installed on a European truck. You see here installed in the back of the cabin. Here we have a van where we have an installation on the roof. Also working, of course, with vans or smaller trucks than Class 8. Here you see a Class 7, respectively Class 8 truck with different mountings, always the same product. It's not necessary to have it directly in the engine room, but of course a connection to the turbocharger for the sucking in of the hydrogen and the oxygen, and of course some connection to the battery, which is roughly 2 hours installation. Means it's not huge work to bring it to the truck, which makes it also easy for the fleets and their workshops to install it on the vehicle. Here you see the installation on a bigger mining truck, where of course you also have where you have maybe to some extent more space. As said, it needs not to be directly mounted to the engine, but some space where it's reasonable and as said, quite easy to install. and more or less service free. We have a yearly inspection of the vehicle, also of the KOH chemical, but principally easy to install and easy to run. Here you see something where we are proud of. We are supplying to some trucks of the Paris-Dakar racing, and you can imagine that this installation in the desert, in the dirt, in the heat, under toughest conditions, is a very serious and proper installation. There, the product needs to be reliable. You don't want to get the car or vehicle being out of order. And therefore, we have there now the second and more years, very good results are being mounted. And of course, good advertising, but also good challenge for the equipment to show our reliability and the reasonable support to the vehicle and to the powertrain by our equipment. Here you see some generators where you, of course, usually don't have that much a space issue, depending how the space and how the situation is within the container. Of course, some are also stacked and full of equipment, but on the other side, also in this continuous usage, we have the highest efficiency. Of course, it works also with standby and peak shaving genset installations, but we have the highest efficiency, and by that, of course, the highest fuel reduction and the highest pollution or emission reduction in continuous operations. Here you see also a box on another truck with a smaller unit. Okay, good. Having said that, coming a little bit from the product and the installations to what did happen in the company. That ones who followed our presentation or did meet us already know that we added various competences to the already capable team. As that company around Jim Payne, the CEO and chairman, already since years, of course, capable and positively doing in developing the electrolyzing and, of course, exploring first markets. As we said, we have hardware, software, and carbon credits, therefore a lot to do with emissions. Therefore, we are happy to have brought or having convinced James Tansey, one of the real emission and carbon credit popes, I may say, Oxford teacher, everything, to our board of directors. Secondly, Tanya Roundtree, as we are stock listed at the TSX in Toronto, also in Frankfurt, being a listed company who is also very capable and having worked with TMX, being in the senior or top management of SIBO, therefore also very, very experienced in stock exchange and trading, what to do as a listed company to be placed there reasonably. This guy, I have a history with MTU, big diesel and gas engines, heading their sales and service with Rolls-Royce, with Daimler. Did head the German diesel engine manufacturer Hatz, therefore knowing quite well what is off-highway from the applications, besides on-highway, of course. Secondly, also knowing the powertrain and the impact of hydrogen into combustion rooms and the complete powertrain. We also convinced Doug Seneschen, who is a very capable guy and experienced in distribution, big top manager of the Penske Group, huge fleets of trucks, which are up to now not our customer, maybe not bad to have access there. Also being, of course, very familiar with sales, service, distribution, having run companies and operations also in Australia and Southeast Asia, being Canadian, therefore having much more additional competence also in our board of directors. Secondly, also on the operative side, we have a new COO, Kevin Unrath, worked with me at Hatz, also background with MAN and Rolls-Royce passenger cars, being also very capable heading the operations, all the operative executive work, broadly experienced. Secondly, we have also, as we are working on the carbon credit project, we have one Beth Saruch, who is the CEO of Carbonomics, also very much supporting us and working together with us on realizing the carbon credits and the software and the process for it. And winning Dr. Ingo Windroff, who was one of the engine developers at MTU and Rolls-Royce, big diesel gas engines, and at LIPA, having been a board member or managing director of LIPA, mining trucks and shovels. Therefore, of course, knowing engine development, knowing applications, and really also being added by Gerhard Philipp, who is one of the hydrogen and fuel cell and electrolyzing experts. Therefore, you see we added, besides applications and of course leads and customers, also very capable guys in the board of directors as well as in the executive team. What do we want to do? Of course, we are further developing our sourcing, our manufacturing, the assembly in Toronto. We are in the process and do already a batch of 1,000 units in a serial production process. Starts with sourcing, coming down in the production or assembly cost per unit and being prepared to deliver to our global distribution and customer base. Therefore, we as equipment also on stock and being sold very fastly for as being available, having availability in stock. For our distributors, we develop further our network. We have roughly 50 dots on the global map. Of course, not everybody or most of them are multi-franchise, therefore representing different applications, different brands. Further developing them, we are also on the software side, further developing our Hydrolytica telematics solution and fitting closer and closer to the various vehicles telematics and preparing for the carbon credit platform. And I said, and on the right hand side bottom, you see this Vera logo, where we have, as said, already certified the process, but are also working on the individual generation process of the individual box, and for that, creating the individual carbon credit. We have also in Munich a European headquarter, where we told you recently we moved to Munich, being headed by Kevin Unrath, where we take care of the EMEA region. We have there also additional distributors now much closer taking care of the markets. We are already quite reasonable with our distributor on our path and way in France. We have in Spain and Portugal business, in Italy, starting in the UK to have a bigger setup. Of course, also now in Germany, getting into additional leads. And for that, good, of course, being also in Munich. And we added some salespeople, changed also some guys and brought in more and more also technical and installation and hydrogen experts. And of course, as said, and as you know, it helps to have a very close interaction, understanding between hydrogen creation and oxygen creation and powertrain and the different combustion, which we have now more and more. Of course, we are also funded and publicly listed. We made recently the next round of fundraising. Of course, we want to and have to invest into growing our business, into whatever preparation of bigger volumes. Our production capacity itself in Canada is quite reasonable. Therefore, from the assembly side, we are principally fine. But creating or assembling and sourcing more and more parts costs money, adding people on the sales side, on the technical side as well. And therefore, we are preparing for growth and bigger volumes. And therefore, of course, for the internal and external development, it helps to have the corresponding funding and investment. Our share price is up to now not there where we would like to have it. Therefore, of course, we are working on bigger deals, additional leads, additional test installations, and want to create, of course, also out of the business cash income or cash in to spend and to work on the share price. Maybe time-wise, I rush up a little bit. We were on various marketing activities and conventions in Africa, in Toronto, in German Bauma, Hannover Messe, in Los Angeles. We will be in 2 weeks' time at the Transport Logistics. And by that, we win additional applications and geographies, also going to India and Australia soon, trying to win additional leads. Therefore, I'm also talking, of course, to the OEMs. As said, we are majorly a retrofit solution. That means major target group is the operators and fleet owners, to help them to reduce fuel and emissions. But of course, the engine manufacturers and the vehicle manufacturers see now more and more that we are on their vehicles, and therefore also having their reasonable discussions and first topics. And we go into more and more geographies, as said, Australia, Middle East, Mexico. We won new dealers and distributors, South America, Chile, Peru, etc. Argentina, we are quite active. Mexico. What do we want to do? We want to grow the volume and the turnover, which of course is our task and job, winning new leads. And by that, we will create also subscription earnings out of our carbon credits and out of Hydrolytica. And with that, we want to grow the cash in, of course, and also the value of the company and hopefully and very likely the share price. Maybe having said that, thank you very much for listening, and I'm ready for your questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the great presentation, Bernd. We do have a little time, 4 minutes for Q&A. There are a lot of questions right now, so let me start with the first one. At the last presentation, there was a discussion on ramping up production, I think of about 1,000 units, if my memory is correct or so. Can you tell us more about where you're at producing those units? Are they sold? Are they out? What's the exact status on them?
So maybe giving a feeling what 1,000 unit means, we have roughly 2,000 installations in the field, which is up to now not a yearly sale. It's our products last longer, but principally we are changing the system as said before from whatever being asked to having first orders and manufacturing them and assembling them to being able to put them on stock and having faster deliveries. And giving also a feeling our biggest customers do have roughly 200 units from us, and therefore the 1,000 means we want to grow, but this shouldn't be the end of our volume for this year.
Okay, and then when you say that you have units out, can you give us a little more details between units out and the sales in the financials? What's the link in between them, and how do you guys, how does it count as one sell?
Also up to now, they are sold, means the 2,000s are not stocked somewhere in the pipeline. They are really sold and in operation. And therefore, our target is not to hide hundreds and thousands of units in the pipeline of the distributorship, but it helps to have to show it for the distributors to have it available to be shown and of course to bring it to leads and to show the easy installation.
Okay, perfect. Can you discuss a little of the last raise that you did, the 4 million? What was the use of it?
Yeah, it was actually 5, and it was of course pre-financing or financing of sourced equipment for the 1,000 units. It was further testing to various fuels, and it was also financing additional sales and technical people, which is not only out of the 5 million, as we have, of course, also regular budget, but it helps, of course, to increase the process of growth.
Okay, perfect. With all of the time that the research has been done, testing and so on, did you see any improvement in margin when you're selling a unit? Was there any improvement on the cost of them or anything in that regards?
With more volume, with more volume being assembled, of course, we have improved margins, respectively, reduced costs. Secondly, of course, as we all know, the price of purchasing good items is raising, but as we have much more volume being sourced, we are in total below our old sourcing prices, which helps the margin which helps the margin.
Perfect. And what was the reception from Bauma conference? Are you expecting any sales from that?
Yeah, first Bauma in general for everybody, I think that ones who participated know it was really, from my understanding and our understanding, top discussions, positive mood as construction and infrastructure and mining and minerals will grow was very positive in general. Secondly, everybody, as everybody knows, was disturbed by funny, crazy tariff discussions. But generally, and for us, of course, we had various good meetings. All the customer base or lead base, let's say, was there. Therefore, having tremendous amount of discussions, tremendous amount, 3-digit numbers of leads, which we now meet, talk, and try to convince to take our equipment.
Perfect. Well, Ben, that's all the time we had. Thank you very much for the update on dynaCERT. We're looking forward to continue following the story and hear more about you in the development of dynaCERT and maybe in the next IIF. Until then, best of luck in the development and the sales of your products. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julia, to you at Opportunity GBC and to the audience, and looking forward to our next meeting. Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.